And we're live, I hope. Hey guys, if
I
anyone's
hope
on live, sorry about the delay. We were just trying to sort out some microphone issues. Cooper got a
not
new laptop.
not Hasham's fault. All my fault, peeps. All my fault.
All good.
New
But
everything.
but you look good. It's the Fuji with the 50
It's
mil
mate.
prime.
It's the XT5 with a prime. It's actually really good. And like I reluctantly, I prefer a DSLR, but when it comes to YouTube and video, you just can't. You know what I mean? They're all friggin' pretty useless these days.
Yeah, it
And
makes a
unfortunately,
big difference.
mirrorless is the go, to be honest.
Let
Um,
us know if anyone watching if we sound good. We did our best to get this sounding and looking good because it wasn't so good before. We had some feedback. Excuse me.
because I'm an idiot. But now we should be good.
And all right, chat's working. Dave Nelson, does this live stream make you a Cooper Scooper? It's a good one. Hey everyone, cool. All right, we look and sound good apparently.
Sweet.
I think there's a slight bit of that feedback still, but it's not as bad as before.
Um,
Yeah, it's definitely not as bad as before. I think it's
let's
only when
just
I
double-
project my voice a bit.
Okay. Let's just double check the voice settings one last time.
Thanks, guys. Hello, hello.
Output volume. It might be easier if I just turn down that a bit. All right. Hey, all good still?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's all right. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
At least we're on. We're live.
We're on.
And today we're going to talk about, well, we're going to mainly focus on, because I know that Cooper loves a good rant and a tangent, and I like good tangent as well. So we'll start off with the topic, which is going to be about motivation, creating or finding motivation in photography, or maybe any creative pursuit if you're not really a photographer, and why it matters. How can you find it? How can you create it? Does it matter whether you have motivation or not? These are questions we kind of asked ourselves back and forth in a little text message exchange. What was it, like a couple of months ago? And we thought it'd be a good live stream topic.
Yeah, well, when we're kind of teeing up the idea to do what we're going to do, for the next live stream, what we're going to talk about, etc. It's a good positive thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I haven't done another one of those rant videos yet.
I like those.
No, you know what? And it's good and bad. Like I enjoy it's. I think it's fun. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of humor, but I don't like being so negative all the time, but then I just keep seeing things that piss me off. Like classic example, there was a guy, one of the Facebook groups, not the big one, on the other one. He had 10 rolls of Fuji 200, so Kodak Gold, and he had them listed for $30 a roll. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And then I just commented on, like, did a laughing, you can do a laugh emoji instead of liking it. Like, haha, like, like you're joking, mate, you're dreaming. So the guy goes to proceed to go and find every single backdated post I'd ever done on that Facebook group and do the haha emoji on that as like just a fuck you to me. And then I like send him a private message with a link. I'm like, man, like, just so you know, you can get this for $14 a roll, brand new from most Aussie suppliers. So like, I know you probably think I'm being a dick, but like, don't try and get people to pay double the price for a roll of film on the secondhand market. God.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the rant videos, the next one coming is actually a slide film video because I kind of didn't want to do double lots of being negative, you know what I mean? I like to stay positive. Hence the tangent, and back to why we thought instead of doing a video about anything negative, finding inspiration is always positive, and it's always positive to talk about.
For sure. Looking forward to the next one. And just Christopher's comment. We haven't been live long. We just started a few minutes ago. I like how, by the way, you're waving the rocket blower around. I feel like I should have one around, and it's really relevant, just like a pointer,
Like a pointer, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I was just sitting on the desk next to all my scanning crap because I've been rescanning some old stuff, which we'll talk about whenever we hit the tangent on
all right.
that to do with
save it.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
We're back with another one. Grumpy
yeah.
old me and oh, thanks, Chris. Coop's hilarious to listen to. You know what? There's a reason why I might be funny to some people, but there's a reason why my channel has just shy of 12,000 subscribers and why Hash is on 40 something now. Because you're Mr. Nice and I rub people the wrong way.
I don't know about that. Like might have some effect, but number one, that we've been doing it. Well, Nick and I started the channel way back, and I kept it going, for probably a longer amount of time and more videos. It was probably harder for you to stay consistent with whatever
Yeah,
reasons.
I think you
Yeah.
know what, especially I know in the beginning, between you and Nick and the film community in Melbourne, you guys had access to a lot of film cameras
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then. I remember when everyone could afford film cameras, whatever they wanted, essentially. I remember you guys had access to, or Nick had a bunch between the two of you. You had a plethora, because that was when, sort of the inception, I suppose you could say, of like the film YouTuber community kicking off again, 6, 7 years ago. You had access to that stuff, which was cool. Whereas Perth's always been way more of a niche community, and it's only been, to be honest, it's only been, I reckon, the last year, year and a half max, where we've seen the community really go gangbusters because of Silver Halide, because of that lab. Amy and Alex actually do a few, like they've got another community gallery coming up. Like they're so passionate about film photography and the community, and actually having like a shop front dedicated film lab, which I even, they even stock some like the camera straps I make in there for people to come and buy. But it's just like that hub, that meeting point, and they've sponsored a whole bunch of people doing gallery showings. Like they sponsored these young dudes that did Walls Magazine, which is like a surf beach lifestyle type thing, which is really good, down at Gage Roads in Fremantle. They've supported that. They've done one of the skate cafes in Scarborough. So like that community now in Perth is actually really starting to kick off. We've had so many people here that shoot, but everyone I feels like have been a little bit scattered, and you know what I mean? And like trying to like get events and things organized is like, it's very difficult. But now we're starting to catch up with you guys over there, because I know you do you're pushing film walks and meetups, and that's, I love that sort of thing. Inspiration wise, I think getting together with a group of like-minded film shooters to just spitball and talk, geek out on cameras and talk about composition and lenses. That is, you always walk away. I'm assuming that when you leave those photo walks that you organize, Hash, you kind of walk away feeling pretty energized.
Yeah, in some ways. And well, it's funny because I'll try not to get off topic too long, but it kind of is on topic because you're talking about feeling inspired, and that kind of ties into motivation. But for me, I'm quite an introvert, so I'm not like completely introverted, but then I have my threshold for social interaction, and what I often feel if I've kind of been out in a big group for a long time and interacting with a lot of people, I actually feel more drained energetically. Whereas I know people who are extroverted actually feel energized. I feel like fulfilled and kind of like I got a lot out of it, but then mentally I'm just kind of like, whew, like, just even making a video or something. When it's a one-on-one chat like this, it's beautiful. This is my zone. But I find
I get it. And and that's like the old time, like for me, meditation wise, setting aside like an hour a week to just hit the street with yourself, camera, and just, I don't even put headphones on. I just like to listen to the sounds of the street and get fully enamored, and just I will pace up and down through the city and just walk and walk and walk and walk and shoot whatever I can. I just don't ever post much of my street photography stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing we can touch on. But on the topic of motivation, I think there's two distinct parts of it. Not distinct, but they cross over. One of which is motivation in the sense of like, why do we actually, take photos or do whatever other creative, artistic pursuit. And the other part of that motivation equation is like feeling inspired and willing and determined to actually go and do it. That kind of motivation. But I think the first one is kind of like maybe just quickly asking ourselves, and anyone watching as well, to consider for yourself, like, why do you do it? Like for me, if I was to answer the question, I would just be like, well, it's just it's a way of expressing myself or reflecting the way I see the world back out onto others through photography by capturing that and showing it. And it's also like a kind of a meditation, like it's a therapeutic release, and there's lots of reasons for it. But what would you say it is for you?
Me, mate, I can't paint and I can't draw, but I love art. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I've always been um, a huge fan of art galleries and paintings, more so since I met my wife. She definitely, posh English girl. She definitely like rubbed off a bit of culture on me. But yeah, and I've always loved draw. Like I would doodle and draw and that sort of stuff when I was younger, and have sketch pads and mark around. But I was never any good. My youngest brother, um, he is very good. Like he could sit there and bang out, anime characters, things like that. But he's just for fun.
Mm.
Whereas when I discovered photography, it's that, and I'm no pros or Bresson. Somebody said it before, you know what I mean? William Klein, someone, like, oh yeah, I photograph because I can't paint or I can't draw, but that's literally it for me. Like it's just become, yeah, starting off like that. Okay, well now I can kind of create my own art for whatever it may be, whether it's street photography, where it's surf, landscape, whatever it is. Like I can actually create some really good art now using a camera. Um, and then it kind of just spiraled from there.
Mm.
Same as you just get deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole till you're at the point now where it doesn't matter where I'm going. If I leave the house, there's a camera in the front seat of the car. There's camera on me if I'm walking with the kid. It's just there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's almost like a constant set of like a constant inspiration is just having a camera. I don't care what camera it is. Doesn't matter which one I pick up. Film, digital, doesn't matter. Um, I just don't. I never use the iPhone ever. But That's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
Well, actually,
But
I think I completely forgot one of the biggest motivations for me, and what
yeah,
it's always been with photography, is to just actually document life and save memories so that I have things to look back on. And I'm sure it is for you too, with your kids and your
well,
family and all
yeah,
that.
more
Yeah.
so for the last. Man, Max will be 4 on Boxing Day at the end of the year. It's 3.5 now. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
know. Time flies,
Yeah,
eh?
time
But yeah,
flies.
that's a
But
huge
again,
one. Yeah, that's a
yeah, I
really
know.
big
Having
motivation.
that record's important, especially because, as you know, me and you are roughly the same age. Growing up, my whole childhood is documented on 4x6 prints sitting in shoeboxes in mum and dad's attic.
Yeah.
That's the other draw for film. Is my entire childhood, the negatives. The first time I rode a surfboard, it is photos of that up in Lancelin with the old, those crappy disposable waterproof cameras that mum and dad would buy when dad would push us off onto surfboards. Like my whole childhood is documented on 4x6, those shitty little prints. And having those and looking at those, it just makes me again want to document and have that same sort of record. Like, at the end of the day, like, and I've gotten to the point where I think when we all start out, and I'm sure so many of your viewers can attest to it as well, we start off taking heaps of photos and then Instagram, and we get a bit of clout, and we all have this lingering thing in the back of our head that maybe I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be the next famous photographer. Like my work's going to be that good. And for some people it is. Like, you know what I mean? Some people's work, they have gallery showings, it's amazing. Whereas I'm at the point now where like that is the last thing I'm even thinking about. It's just making art, documenting it. Um, Instagram isn't even that inspiring these days, is it really? But we can talk about that later. But you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all just about that process.
Yeah.
And
I've
having that constant, same as you, just having like knowing that, okay, well, 5 years down the track, and I did it the other day, man. I pulled out negatives from the first time I shot film, and I was looking at those, and I was like, man, I sucked. But like just having that record, to be able to go, oh, look, it's all still there. And the
for
same,
sure.
Dad, probably about 6 months ago, man, Dad asked me, he said, can you scan up some old negatives for me? And this is like in the 80s on a work trip. He went to South Africa, like height of apartheid. And the photos just kind of blow my mind, like seeing, scanning them and then watching the scans come up on the computer and just seeing the blatant rate, whites only here, Asians only here, no blacks, and seeing that from the 80s and like having a physical negative and just going like, man, humans are terrible people. But you know what I mean? Just that having that set of documents is how I kind of treat it now.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's the best motivation, really, because it's kind of it's everlasting, and like just the fact of documenting life, whether it's for yourself or the world surrounding you, because it just kind of compounds like interest with years. And it's like the family albums you're talking about. My parents were the same,
Yeah.
and there was a gap. So there was like, when I was young in the late 80s into the 90s, there's plenty of film photos that we have printed in albums,
Mm,
whether or not we still have the negatives. Most of them are gone, unfortunately, but they're all there. And then there was this like gap as digital came in, where
the
families,
digicam
yeah,
era.
people started taking
Yeah.
photos on digital, but then they
Yeah.
didn't tend to print them as much, and they didn't tend
No.
to look after the files and whatever. So it becomes more important as time goes on to document whatever's important in your life, whether it's family or your experiences or social issues around you, because it might not seem like much right now, but
Mm,
10, 20 years down the track, that's where it's really going to matter. So whether it's artistic or not, that's subjective. And there is a comment from someone that I put up on the screen about people saying photography isn't art,
yeah. From
which is
Chris.
like, yeah, I mean, people will say what they want to say, but it is a subjective thing, and you can find art in your regular family photography if you want, or your photos of flowers out the backyard,
Yeah.
or it's really what it means to
That's
you. It shouldn't
But
matter if
again,
other people
when
don't think
yeah,
it's art.
opinion people. I mean, people who say photography is not art. I mean, just go and look up Tyler Shields. You know who Tyler Shields is, don't you?
Vaguely familiar, but not.
Yeah. So fine art photographer, either Hasselblad H system 100 megapixel back cameras, or 6x6 square film. Um, Try telling him, who has prints, sell like gallery pieces of, and his stuff is half of his stuff I don't enjoy. A lot of it's like I would say kind of fashion fine art. Like for instance, there's a real photo of his with like literally with a crocodile or an alligator in the States, whatever it is, and a bright red handbag that's quite renowned. And he does a lot of stuff with his partner, his girlfriend. But again, that is, the guy makes a fortune. Um, and then I would say to, Platon, who I absolutely love his portraits and his work. Those 6x6 black and white portraits, that's art. There's anyone who tries to say that's not art is kidding themselves, because again, not just the photo, but getting that expression on their face, getting those people to open up, whatever his mojo and how he does it. You can't say, I mean, you could say it's not art in this if you're comparing it to the Mona Lisa or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh well, it's a bit different, and it's different, but it's still art. You know what I mean? It's just, just like it's, what? It's the same old story. Digital photography, film photography. One's not better than the other. It's just two, different strokes for different folks. Two different things to, get to the same conclusion in the end.
Agreed. All right, so yeah, I think that's a good little reminder of like asking ourselves why we even take photos, and that there is importance in it, even though it might not seem like that initially. Some of it will compound with time and gain appreciation as time goes on. But the other part of motivation, I think a lot of people are interested in is, you know, what they call finding motivation to actually go out and
Mm.
shoot, or
Yeah,
like, is it
I think
important?
that's
Sometimes you
probably
don't feel like it.
yeah, it's
Do
probably the
do you
big
have a
one that
stance on
people want.
this?
Yeah, I think that the wrong place to look is Instagram. To be quite frank, I would say the wrong place to look for that sort of motivation is Instagram. Is the last place you should go. I reckon it's the best place to go if you want to be depressed. You know what I mean? About people with you might have a couple hundred followers starting out, and especially with the way those algorithms go now, where it's just all video content all the time. Even the film photography stuff that gets the views is people doing videos of like looking like the waist level viewfinder, looking through the Hasselblads, like things like that. It's the last place I would go, and I reckon that can be like have the adverse effect.
Yeah.
But we can bitch about that later. But the first place I go always is to a photo book.
Mm-hmm.
or an art gallery, something like that. That's the first place I go.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I find that Instagram can be. I've actually got a whole video coming up that I was still trying to figure out if I do it on my personal channel or not. Just the subject I wrote down was pitfalls of Instagram, because I do think there's a lot of positivity you can gain out of
That's
Instagram, but
that is
it's,
a
yeah.
very good clickbait title, sir.
I know,
That'll
yeah.
get the
Well, I'm sure
answer.
it's been done. I'm sure it's been
Oh,
done, but like it's just something that was going through my mind, and about how we can remind ourselves that
yeah,
it's so subject to whatever you're saying, like the algorithm, and it can change. And one day that your photos
yeah.
get like 5 likes because of whatever's going on in the
Oh,
background,
but
and then the
it's I
same
remember
thing
I
can
almost
get
watched it
200.
happen overnight, you know? So,
Yeah,
you and me have got reasonably large Instagram followings. Not, I mean, I wouldn't say, well, you know what? It's still a grain of sand compared to, celebrities and shit. Anyway, you go from having, let's say you got 1,000 people, and you got that many people, you go from one day you might have 2, 3, 400 people, and then it's less than 50. And
yeah,
it can be kind of deflating sometimes because you go, well, you feel like, and that's where the trap is. People go, oh, I've made, they may have taken an amazing photo. And I've seen some. I saw one the other day by this guy. I ended up following. Can't even remember. It was an awesome photo, black and white. This dude had whipped past him on a quad doing a wheelie. Must have been a friend of his, but the background, the comp, everything lined up. And I was like, that is a fantastic photo. I got to look at his profile, and guy's just starting out, minimal, you know what I mean? And for someone like that, you could probably think, I put this amazing photo up, but nobody liked it or nobody saw it. And then you can feel quite deflated.
hmm.
But, you can sit there and you can tell people not to worry about it. Like, just, it doesn't mean anything, but it's a lot harder to, for some people, it's a lot harder to believe it than, even though someone's telling you and it's true, but it's a lot harder for it to register.
Yeah, because it becomes a compulsion, which is a problem in itself. But that is what I would look at as the inspiration part of this. So motivation, sometimes you can find inspiration in order to motivate you, like whether it's Instagram or books or galleries. That's probably being inspired by the work of others in order to motivate you to go and work yourself. But besides that, what else? What if you've got a project and you just don't feel motivated to actually go out and get back to it? I can relate to this. I've got some projects, that are in the back burner. Literally, I've got like a series I'm working on maybe, and I need more content, but I don't feel
Mate,
motivated, or I find an excuse,
this right here.
Yeah.
This is half done. This book.
Yeah.
This is half done. That was something I started before the last one, before I released the surf book, and it's still not done. I'm
Yeah.
looking. I'm like, ugh. And the
Yeah.
logistics behind getting it done are quite, not insurmountable. But when you've got kids, it's, you know what I mean. Carving out the time to do it with the boys is really,
Yeah.
really hard. And then I go, crap. Like if I didn't have kids, but imagine what I could get done if I didn't have kids and I wasn't.
Well, you would always find something, right? Like if it's not kids, it's you. Yeah. But,
But
what
yeah,
I really wanted to get across to everyone, and I think this is something that I've learned, is that it's okay. Like don't beat yourself up about it. Yeah. If you don't have motivation,
what I was going to say
it's
was
good.
just don't push it. I was going
Yeah.
to say sometimes if you just don't have the motivation, like just don't. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Like
focus your attention on another outlet, perhaps.
for
For
sure.
me, for instance, you know what I mean. Like I've started making those camera straps. So if I'm not super motivated and I still want to be creative, okay, well I'll get on the workbench, get all the leather tools out. Okay, can we come up with some kind of new strap design, or can I tweak it a bit, or start playing around? So, so I'm working with my hands, and still trying to essentially make something and be creative. But I don't know if when people were not super motivated that some people will say, you know what I mean? I know that I've watched, maybe it was one of the street documentaries or street photography documentaries, just, people saying, well, you've just got to keep going. You just got to get out and keep going, put in the hard yards, hit the pavement. And, maybe that works for some people. You know what I mean? Maybe that does. Maybe that just relentless attack every day on the street, or, out trying to make images. I suppose street photography is different in itself because you can always get out and hit the street any time of day. But for other things, I suppose, like landscape photography, let's say, that's just, okay, well, force yourself to get out of the bed in the morning. Force yourself to get up and catch that early morning light. Okay. It might not work out, but at least you tried, and then try, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It's important, I think, to make sure that you look at how much of a priority it is. Like if you're someone who can afford the time to shoot street every single day and it's a big part of your life, and maybe there's something else coming out of it, uh, that's fine. But then let's say you're someone who does have a family or kids or whatever, and you just feel this urge to create, and you're not feeling motivated, and you're like, well, I haven't posted to Instagram for this long, and I'm going to quickly go out, spend this time editing, doing whatever,
Mm.
just in order to get it out, and then you're neglecting time that you know aren't spending on higher priorities. You shouldn't be doing that, obviously, and don't feel like it's just something you need to do because it's expected, whether it's your self expectation or some kind of audience or whatever, because it's not going to be natural. It's not going to be genuine. You're just doing it for the sake of it to keep up
Yeah.
engagement or something like that. I fall into that trap sometimes, but then I don't really let it. Like I'll have times when I haven't put any photography out for ages or videos or whatever, and then I'll
Then you
prioritize
have
other
that,
important
you have
things.
that
Yeah,
spur. Yeah, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like same deal. I haven't put a video up for a couple of weeks now, but they're all sitting there. One is just waiting for me to get the slides back. Because you know what it's like with E6 these days. It's just, it is what it is. It's always a bit of a wait.
yeah.
Um, and then yeah, but it's just kind of like yeah, same as you. I try not to let anybody else or any situation dictate what I should be doing with my art. To me, it's my art. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like that's I think that's important for so many people to realize. Don't let the good old FOMO. I love
Yep.
using the word FOMO, fear of missing out. Don't let old FOMO syndrome kick in. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
missing out on anything. You know what I mean? It's you go at your own pace.
Agreed. There's a comment that I think is a good way to tie up this whole Instagram and portion of discussion from Grainy Brew, saying trying to use Instagram as a photo gallery and more of a scrapbook. That's 100% exactly the way I've always treated Instagram, or
Yeah,
tried to.
yeah.
And whenever I find myself sliding off into the trap of anything else besides that, it doesn't feel good. So I just treat it like exactly that, like the way I have like this wall of prints that I slap on this magnetic board behind me.
Dave
Instagram is
Nelson.
like that, but it's where I can
Instagram's
scroll
the
back.
armpit of photography, Dave
That was a
Nelson.
good
That's
one. Yeah.
classic.
But that's the best way to treat it, because it's 100% on true that like you can have something that seems like it's a better photo than another one, and it gets literally, I had something that had like 10 likes or whatever
Oh
because of
yeah.
whatever reason, but then suddenly things are changing now. Instagram seems to actually be steering away from reels back towards photography. Engagement seems to be up, but I don't care. I post a photo,
Are they?
leave it disappear, and then I'll check
Yeah.
back, later that night, or treat it more as just some way of like
Yeah.
limited inspiration, because if you let it get beyond that and you put too much focus in likes and all that, then it's not good for your own creative process, I think. But
No, definitely
yeah.
not. But while we were talking about before, ways to stay motivated, and you were talking about you had a couple projects on the back burner. I've got one here that's still going. Um, I think that in itself is a very good thing to have a goal to, and it doesn't, you know what I mean? Doesn't have to, like, good work like that takes a long time. You know what I mean? It takes a long time. Like that, the surf book I did, and it was like 5 years worth of, of winters of swell. Okay, all the best, the better waves, the big waves. That's got to wait for winter to come around to get the swells, etc. That was years and years of, whatever I got that year, and then the next year, and then it got to the point where, okay, well, I finally have a body of work. But in the back of my mind, it was always planning for that. I'm planning, okay, I want to make a book. It's going to keep me motivated to, to when it's cold, put the wetsuit on, even though I'm always surfing anyway. You know what I mean? Like, more so for me, it was keep me motivated to stay fit as well, because I'll surf when it's really good. Then I'll come in, then I got to put my flippers on, load up the camera, and swim back out. After I may be already exhausted, I may have already surfed for 2 hours or something like that, and then go back out. That, for all those years, knowing that, okay, well, I'm working towards this goal, and that did help keep me very motivated. And I honestly reckon it's something, I mean, a lot of photographers should do. Have, don't, I mean, it's good to do the and it's fun to do like those, like real short-term projects that you might, like, okay, I'm going on a trip somewhere, I'm going to bang it out. Especially if you go somewhere cool, like, I'm itching for your Turkey and Lebanon book or whenever you do it, just
Yeah.
because of the culture, the wild culture. Oh, I just, I've never been to that part of the world, and having like especially a good friend doing something and documenting that, that'd be awesome. When you, I
Mm.
know, and I know what you're like. You're pedantic. You'll take a while to nut that out till it's nice and
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, it's kind of like with your project, you saying it took 5 years and it was multiple winters and seasons
Yeah.
and swell and all that. And I think that's great because even though, let's say, someone else could have done something equivalent in 1 year, it doesn't
Mm.
mean that that's necessarily the best way to do it. It's whatever works
No.
around your lifestyle, what suits you, and your particular voice and how you express that. And yeah, with this project, it's also a matter of me figuring out, like, how do I want to take this? Which ones are speaking to me more, and do I want to focus on this kind of photo and all the details? And it's definitely something that I don't feel good rushing. I don't like rushing things if possible,
No.
because I'd rather take my time. And I do feel kind of that guilt of, I should have had this out. I told people I wanted to get it out, and then let's say that time lapses or whatever. But I'd still ultimately rather have a product that I'm more proud of than to have gotten it out earlier. And the
Yeah,
same with
hundred
the
percent.
zine I did. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But so just about to say. But yeah, again, and then where people again, like I said, like you were just saying, we don't want people to get caught in the trap. Like in the time I was making those books, guys that I've followed on Instagram or whatever, other sort of surf photographers, things like that, they've banged out multiple books in that time. But again, you got to look at these guys probably either don't have kids or are on essentially maybe they're shooting these books in between paid assignments. They're getting paid to go to some of these exotic
Hmm.
places, for instance. And that's just, yeah, I think when people start comparing themselves to other people, it can get you a lot less motivated. If people remember just, it's tortoise in the hair, people. Tortoise in the
Yeah.
hair.
Exactly right. I see other people like, oh man, this guy's already released another book and I haven't even finished the one I'm working on. But then you're
Yeah.
right. Like, he might have some financial motivation. He might have maybe a lot less other hobbies. Like you and I probably have, you're talking about surfing, and there's other things I
Yeah.
enjoy doing, and you have a, like a partner or whatever else you need to spend time on. So that's fine. You definitely don't want to be comparing yourself because you don't know the details of their situation.
No, no.
And
Yeah.
even if you did, you're not them. So
No.
for sure. All right. There was a few comments. Sorry, guys. I know you've been sending
Yeah, I
chats
know. I've
out,
been
and I want
ranting
to.
on for too long.
I've been putting a few of them up on the screen, but yeah, Ray mentioned something about like Instagram is slowly reverting back to photography, and I had just spoken about that, which I have noticed as
I didn't
well.
see that. I haven't seen any
I just noticed
news.
it. Yeah, like just well, I don't know, maybe not because, but I think I have heard that like the video focus is biting them in the ass somehow, and they're not able to monetize it as much, so they're kind of opening back up towards photography. And I've seen video topics pop up on YouTube, not that I've watched them, but saying Instagram photography is coming back or whatever.
Well, that would be
But
nice.
either way, it shouldn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
as if you're not putting too much weight in it anyway, just treat it
No,
for what it is. Whether
no,
you
no,
get
no.
10 likes or 1,000.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah,
we're a bit older, man. We're a bit older, mate. And then you've got
yeah,
I mean, I don't know how many of my viewers are, under the age of 25, whereas, teenagers to early 20s, younger people these days, social media clout is something that they aspire to.
you're right.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Whereas it's very
it's
different
different.
for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like what do we have? MSN Messenger in high school, and you get on everyone to be on MSN Messenger at night. That was it, just
mhm,
texting because no one had phones. You know what I mean? That was like the
yeah,
that was MySpace back in the day.
yeah.
Whereas now, yeah, I feel bad actually for the younger
Yeah.
crew that they
Well,
have that kind
it's
of burden.
true because even though we might still suffer from it in some way, it's a lot
Mm,
worse for the younger generation because
mm,
if you've grown up in
mm.
it, what happens is that you have this ability to use social media to create a better version of yourself in the online world. And then it's become so normal, whether it's like using filters or something like that, and then it just becomes kind of like a norm. So then you're raising your value in the online realm of social media. But the more you do that, the more you seem to lower your social status and
Yeah,
value in the
yeah,
real
yeah.
world,
I
because
hear
then
you.
by comparison, that gets lower, and these younger
Mhm.
generations fall into that trap.
Yeah.
And it's like a vicious cycle if you're not aware of it, which is why I think there's statistics of anxiety rates and like depression rates and all that. It's much higher,
Through the
which
roof.
is
Yeah,
sad.
mate.
Yeah, but
Don't worry about my boys, to be honest.
self-awareness, being aware of it, 100%
Mm,
best way
yeah.
to try and keep on top, whether
But
you're from,
then,
you
but
know,
then
whatever
with
generation.
that, while we're actually on that and talking about anxiety, and obviously we could segue into depression and things like that, photography, because I've suffered with some of that stuff years and years ago. I will flat out admit it.
Hmm.
I'm a big advocate of don't keep it to yourself. Talk to someone, go and
Yep.
see someone, do something, get it off your chest. Doesn't make you any less of a man, any less of a person, because guys are like, oh, I'm too tough. I'm not going to talk this shit.
Yep.
Photography was a crucial part for me for stress relief. You know what I mean? For more like a you know what I mean? Like an outlet, emotional outlet. You know what I mean? Like I found it to be during some of those tougher times mentally years ago. Having the camera, I would just get out. I would leave the house and walk with the camera. Especially when me and my wife were living in when we were renting the first place we rented together in North Perth. So like I'm right on the edge of Northbridge and the city, and you've got that really old neighborhood. So there's a bazillion back alleys darting between all the houses, and you know what I mean? Like just grabbing the camera and going and having that sort of, just to help you kind of vent. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to put it into eloquent words, but it's not coming out. But I do know a lot of people who find that photography has helped them from that aspect, and then again that segues into it becomes part of like a routine, a habit to keep you motivated to keep going out and keep taking photos because it helps you regulate yourself in whatever way possible. I do
Yeah.
that's definitely a really good motivator for some people. Well, that's how some people, I know some people started off with photography in that sense, and it's helped them
Yeah.
cope, stay motivated.
100. I agree. I've found
Mm.
the same, whether it's relief or whatever through photography. And what you're talking about is really powerful because if you take something like your creative outlet, whether it's photography or I don't know, bird watching,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, but if you can combine that with something like you said, going for a walk with your camera, you're getting outside, you're getting into nature, which is shown to really help your mental state, and then exercising, and you're doing all that habit stacking in one
Mm.
go, and it's going to create more motivation to go and do it again next time, which
Yep.
means all of those things can benefit.
Oh, but
Yeah,
again, with and one thing I can't recommend to people more is find some way to to cross process your hobbies. You know what I mean? Like me, I've with the surfing and photography, I love it. It's I'm like doubly as motivated to either surf or take photos. It doesn't matter which. Like combining two passions is phenomenal. Like I honestly think that more people should definitely try and do it, whether it be I don't,
starting a YouTube
and
channel.
maybe well, yeah, but I mean, again, sometimes it might be a bit more difficult. For instance, let's say oh, always a good example. You know what I mean? You could be right into your cars and photography. There's a couple guys in Sydney I follow on Instagram who are like real down with like the like that lowrider hot rod scene, and they shoot film. What's the guy's name? I think it's like might be Nick someone. And you know what I mean? But anyway, like he's managed to combine obviously the love of cars and hot rodding with photography, and it gives your photos a real unique perspective. Like I think my photos with surfing gives me a much different perspective to a lot of people outside of because I've surfed for so long. I understand, um, you know, where to be on the wave, where to be sitting, what's cool in surfing, what looks good in surfing. Like because of my history with that, it translates into the photos. The same thing with anyone. If you're into motorsport, you know what I mean. You might, okay, how whatever cars, the coolest cars or the most expensive, whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
combining passions is a massive motivator, and definitely keeps you inspired.
Yeah.
To
So
be honest.
stacking those interests, and it could be anything, whether it's something like cooking, or just your family, or your kids, or your work.
Yeah.
You combine those
Well,
things. If it's something
yeah.
you're really passionate about, and it
Mm.
isn't photography, see if you can mix those things together, because I know that definitely works as well.
Yeah.
That's how I got into it. Photographing nature, for example. I used to do landscape
Yeah,
initially.
yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, a lot of people, I think, started like that. Like it was maybe they're outdoorsy or they like to go hiking and trail running, walking or whatever. And then one day, I'll take a camera, and then it goes from, you know, snapshots of a trail and flowers on the side of the trail to, you know what I mean, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to take expansive landscapes with epic sunrises. You know what I mean? It all spiraled from just I'm going to take a camera on my walk one day.
For sure. And
Mm.
Ray mentioned like quirky unknown gear motivates me, and that could be as simple as that. Like I love gear. If you're a
Yeah.
gearhead and a nerd, that
Oh,
can also
you know, I
provide
know
inspiration.
people who are just like hardcore Soviet photographer era people, you know what I mean? Like they live for those clunky, funky crap, the old Soviet cameras.
Yeah.
Sort of like, and from the 50s, East Germany styles, you know what I mean? When they took over the Carl's Ice factory and were like, cha-ching. I remember watching a video, one guy's video was like a 20-minute deep dive into all the different Jupiter 8 versions and like the different plants and like, you know what I mean? This guy's obsessed, like, whatever plant name and number was serial numbers on the lens came from a different plant that used different materials. And then some have like the residual radioactive. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like
Or
some people are right into
GX Ace's
that.
channel, the guy GX
Yeah.
Ace, and
Oh, Casey
he
stuff, mate. Like there
amazing.
is 101 class on how to blow up on YouTube and social media. Like
Yeah.
I remember his first couple videos because I think Casey does video production as his job.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. You can see the
Yeah.
passion. He actually
Oh, mate,
loves
his
camera gear.
passion,
Like
for
it comes
video
through in the
making.
photography.
Yeah,
Like if
especially
you didn't
when he
love
did
surfing,
that, when he
your
did
photos wouldn't
that
be as good.
video where he machined that anamorphic adapter to his Hasselblad.
Yeah.
That is just, who comes up with that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the passion for filmmaking segues into photography. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's where like the sum is what do you call it? Like more powerful than the individual parts or whatever. Like that shows through. All right. Well, the last part of the
It's not
motivation
Red Bull,
thing.
Dave. It's just coffee, mate. I've been up since 2:30. I've
So
already been to work. I've already
and
worked
Dave,
today.
there's a link to I think I put a link to Cooper's website in the video description if you want to check that out, or at least his Instagram, which will then link you to everything else like his straps and website. But the last portion of the motivation chat that I wanted to have with you is before we get onto rants and tangents and whatever.
Yeah.
Is another way to create motivation. Like if you're feeling unmotivated, you actually want to. There's not many other priorities that you should be taking care of in life, but you just haven't been feeling that willpower. What I find often works and is the case is that sometimes you have to just get out and create the motivation. You have to go out and start shooting, and then that will create the motivation. The motivation doesn't always come first. Sometimes doing the work, doing the thing is what creates the motivation. You put yourself in that situation. Even if you don't feel like it, and it's a spare day, I've been saving this time up, and I'll just go out. And then you just like you go 10 times, and you feel really energetic about it once you put yourself out there. Do you feel the same?
I know it's happened. Yeah, I know it's happened to you. We'll go straight on that. Same deal. I can't really be bothered. I've got some spare time. I'll just go for a walk and hit the streets. And then, you know what I mean? Then you come back and you develop and you get one absolute banger off that 36, off that roll of 36. One photo that you just kind of, you forced yourself to go out to make time for it. I can't really be bothered, but I'm going to go anyway. And you get that one banger that just, and I've done it before. I pulled the film out of the tank and looked at it up in the light, in the bathroom as I'm hanging it up to dry. And I just kind of go, holy shit, like this is why I do this. This is why I do this. And it's just, and
you don't even need that one photo.
You know what I mean? And you would not, unless you forced yourself out the door to go and get going, you would never have taken that photo.
Yeah. So you can't always force yourself, but sometimes it is a good idea. Like a perfect example for me is that I might be traveling, right? And then traveling in itself can create motivation to go shoot, obviously. But there's even been times when I've been out on a trip and it's just like, I'm tired. I've already shot, it's too hot, some excuse. But then because maybe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, or I know that if I don't do this now, I can't later, I go and do it anyway. And then I just have such a great time halfway into that trip. Sometimes you don't. but more often
That,
than not,
yeah, no,
halfway into that walk, I'll
yeah,
be like, so glad I came out. I feel more energetic. And even though I might not get amazing shots, maybe it's just like I get one or two
yeah,
seemingly okay ones, or I might get that one or two like amazing shots. It's just worth it, just putting yourself out there, because even if you've just at least had a good time, that's what
mm.
it's what's more important. Sorry, than
Oh
coming
no,
back
I
with
am
keepers.
100% on that, and that exact thing happened to me on a trip when we went back to the UK 5 years ago or 6 years ago now. We went back and saw her friends and family and stuff, and we did the UK, and we went to Paris, Greece, and went up and saw my grandmother's village up in the mountains, and her sister who still lives literally in the mountains, like ridiculous bears, and rolled into my yaya's village, and
Mm.
there's two giant tortoises in the middle of the road getting freaky, like in the middle of nowhere in Greece up mountains. Anyway,
Yeah.
segue in Paris, long day of walking around doing touristy stuff. Can't be bothered. Oh, we're going to go to the Eiffel Tower and walk around there. It's very cliche. Everyone's taking like your standard Eiffel Tower photo. I went out and I got this one photo. There were a group of people salsa dancing, ballroom dancing, or whatever, near the. What are those steps? I don't even know what they're called. So if you go, anyone goes to see the Louvre, there's those big set of steps near the fountains that's a couple hundred meters away from the Eiffel Tower, and it gives you that beautiful view of the city. Anyway, this perfect photo of this old couple dancing and salsa dancing in perfect shot, their way they're holding each other, and then on the steps, and then framed up in between them is the Eiffel Tower. And it's probably one of my most favorite photos I've ever taken. But yeah, just like I'm okay, I'm gonna go to the touristy places. I'm here. I've never been here before. It's a once in a lifetime thing. Would never have gotten the photo if I hadn't have gone.
Yeah.
And I need to print that photo. I've never made a print of it actually.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I've seen it, but
No, no one's
100%.
seen
Yeah.
it.
So
No,
I
no one's
think
seen that photo.
for anyone who hasn't considered that, sometimes the motivation comes after. Do the thing, and then the motivation comes, and then that will roll over onto more doing the thing, whether it's photography or something else for you. So yeah, I think we covered, I think, like most of the things I want to talk about, because it's not a topic you could ever cover completely, nor is it one
No,
that we need to dwell on for
you
too
could
long. But
constantly.
yeah,
Everyone's got a little different bit of salt and pepper that gets them going.
yeah.
In
So
that
it's
sort of
like
thing.
okay to not have it. You can't always
Yeah,
force it.
no,
It gets lost, and sometimes you can get it back. And even if you don't initially get it back, go and do that thing anyway, and then it will come hopefully.
yeah. But I'm sure everyone has
Yeah,
sort of that one thing. And I pulled it out to show you. One of my favorite things. I know you did a video about photo books the other day, but this book, which is Laura Wilson's book that day.
yeah.
She was Richard Avedon's assistant.
Oh yeah. Owen
Yeah,
Wilson's
the
mum.
actor's
Yeah,
mum,
yeah, yeah,
Owen and Luke Wilson's mum.
yeah.
I pull out this book whenever and there's just, I don't know what it is. Anytime I read this book, I just want to go out and make work. I want to go and create. I want to go and take photos. Doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time, without fail, this book inspires me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people have that thing, which is why I love photo books so much.
Yeah, I think she had a great interview with Ted Forbes, and that's actually a good
Oh,
answer to.
yeah,
There was a
yeah.
comment here from Noah. You might have missed the first part of our interview, chat, where we focused a bit more on this inspiration side of motivation and trying to find it. But one last thing I would suggest, if you don't already do it, is watching documentaries with great artists, or movies about artists, or like Sebastian Salgado, Wim Wenders documentary, or going to galleries, doing those things that you don't automatically think to do because Instagram's so much easier. Remember to do that. Like watch Everybody's Street if you're a street photographer.
Well, yeah, that's
whatever.
amazing. But the only problem with that is Instagram's free.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but oftentimes these docos
that's the
are
one
free.
downside is like to go to, you know what I mean? If you're lucky, I know like, the art gallery here at Perth, our one, it's free entry.
Yeah.
Are the Melbourne ones all free as well?
It depends, but you can always find zero cost alternatives to something.
Yeah.
Even like these movies and documentaries, some of them are on YouTube for free, or on Netflix, or something you might already be paying for. Or them, NGV is free for some exhibits, but then there might be certain ones where it's paid or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, Everybody's Street's been free on YouTube for years now.
Yeah, or like Platon.
And you know what?
Or
I probably
whatever.
watch it once a year, to be honest. I
Ted
probably watch it
Forbes,
once a year.
he's done all those artist interviews, including with
Oh, I don't know what happened. He's got so many more in the bag that he hasn't
yeah,
released yet. I remember one of months ago, one of his videos talking about, and he's just like he had a whole bunch of stuff done, but um, he takes those. I think he takes those videos, those artist series ones he makes, as the most serious work that he ever puts out on the web. So he takes 6 months, takes a year to release one sometimes, or he has to fly to different parts, different spots around the globe. But yeah, that's the only downside with photo books is they're expensive.
yeah,
Um,
that's true. But you can
but
always
again, you
go
know
to a
what?
library.
It's only three rolls of film these
Yeah,
days. You know what I mean? 2.5, well, 2.5 in some cases, 2.5 rolls, 3 rolls of film, and you can get a photo book.
yep.
That's
Often
where
I'll
we're
go
at with
look at them first. I'll go to Metropolis or some bookstore and just browse. And then
yeah,
whether or not
yeah.
I end up buying that book, at least I get an idea or I get that bit of inspiration or I
Oh
go to
man,
my
I can't
friend's
help
house
myself.
or
There's a shop in
meetups.
Fremantle, yeah. And I never leave. It's called New Edition Books.
Yeah.
And I never leave without buying a book. I
Yeah.
go in there and they always have something. Like the last time I went in there, I pulled some. Alex Soth's, how do you say it? Do you say Soth or Soth? How do people
I
pronounce? I don't know.
I hear people say Soth, but then
So
Alex
do I,
Soth.
but I
I
go
guess it
Soth.
doesn't
Soth.
matter. Yeah. They're not too
The
different.
pound of pictures.
I don't have any of his books yet. Yeah.
This is fantastic. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
This book was like really uplifting. I thought it was some great work. Like as I said to you before, one of the last ones I got of his called Niagara was depressing as fuck.
Was it? Yeah, yeah. Well, his work is a bit melancholy from what I've seen. I do love his stuff, but it's not the style I usually gravitate towards. Even though I'm a huge admirer of the how he does his work and all that. But one thing I think I've recommended to you before. I don't know if I have, but I recommended this at the end of my last book sharing live stream.
Yeah.
It was my camera's reversed, by the way. I don't know. It was a Discord thing, but it's called William Albert Allard's 5 Decades: A Retrospective. And it's a great book. You can find it for a decent price. And I think you would really like this one. And maybe anyone
don't
watching.
You hate it when you find out, and I'm sure everyone can attest to this. You find out about a photo book that's no longer in print. And you go, oh my God. And then you find out how much it costs. There's one book that I wish I could get my hands on. It's by a surf photographer and video maker called Thomas Campbell. And he made this video, like real artsy surf stuff, kind of like the same as One California Day and Single Fin Yellow, like a lot of these mid-2000s surf movies that were way more, instead of your traditional like skate movie or surf movie where it was just like rock and roll, punk rock in the back and people blasting waves and doing big moves. These were real artsy takes on it, and like documentary style ones. Anyway, one of his the book from that movie, which I wish I could get my hands on, not in print anymore. Found a couple copies. It's like just shy of $1,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's
and then you go,
Bressons.
you go. I can't justify that kind of money on a photo book.
I think it's just a psychological thing though. The fact that it's running out or hard to find makes you want it more. It's like that availability bias when it's selling out. You need to get it, and then you wouldn't have otherwise wanted it so much if it was cheap and available.
Yeah.
All right. What other tangents and rants are you going to point your?
We can tangent all day long, and we can rant all day long. You know what I'm like.
Yeah. I thought actually that you would appreciate because I know you messaged me about the M6 video, and I didn't tell you I was borrowing one of those. And then I remember what you had said and what we chatted about with Joe Greer's promotional thing, saying this is going to make film.
They did it right with the M11 monochrome, didn't they? Look who they went and got as the promo boy for that, Andre Wagner.
And Matt Day, I think, as well.
Yeah, they listened. I don't know if no, Matt Day's
not. He wasn't official, I guess. I think he just bought one. But yeah,
he just bought one. Yeah,
Andre Wagner. Yeah, because he's a black and white shooter.
What? If I could afford one, I'd buy one.
Man, same. It looks amazing.
I'd buy one, right? And that would be it. You'd have one camera. Good. I would good. I'm done forever.
What is it in Aussie dollars? Like 15 grand or something?
Yep, it's just shy of $15,000 Australian for that camera, and you just kind of go, well. The only people it's just rich collectors are buying that brand new, or rich people. But then again, the people who would, let's say, like Andre Wagner, like the real serious photographers. Who's another one? Alan Schaller. I always see him involved with a lot of the Leica videos. He's that
Yeah,
English
he's
black and
an
white street
ambassador.
photography.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
their ambassadors for a while.
They get given those cameras on long-term loans,
Imagine
and
that.
that's just part of their marketing strategy. But at least what I mean, the cameras end up going into the hands of people like that who actually make fantastic work. So that's always cool.
Yeah.
But for most of us, you know what I mean, especially with the current, cost. I mean, mate, my interest rates just went up again for me, which is things are getting tighter for a lot of people. Everyone knows cost of living is getting rough. So you know what I mean? Like, who logistically can spend that kind of money on a camera? Maybe if you have a bazillion, you had a bunch of Hasselblad X-Pans and okay, I'm going to sell all those and buy one now. But no, your M6 video was, like I said to you, I messaged you and said it was a great take. Like, you were so diplomatic about it. You tried to, you pointed out what you didn't like about it.
Because there is so much hype.
Did you get roasted?
Not roasted per se. I did have a couple of shitty comments.
Not roasted, but I would imagine you got comments about, you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't understand why it is that way, things like that, or
kind of like, there'll be someone who'd be like, because I kind of shat on the light meter. I've always hated those light meters, and it's like,
light meter sucks.
Yeah,
it's crap.
But it's still better than having nothing if you actually will use it. But it's just the way it works.
Is the light meter in the new one? Did they at least do what they did in the TTL, where there's the solid LED dot in the middle, like on the M7?
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Or is it just the two arrows pointing to each other?
No, there's a dot,
like
and then you will have an arrow and a dot, which is good because at least you're in between, under, and correct. And then there's someone's like, well, the way it works is that when the arrow's there and you have this, you're half a stop under, and well, I know that, but that's not the point. The point I was trying to make is that every other camera has a scale.
Somebody, oh man, I want to read the comments to you. Some dude, and I just turned around and called him a fuckhead. And then someone had a go at me on YouTube and was like, well, he's obviously just trying to,
There's so many of those. Yeah.
Dude, no, a dude roasted me on the video I did about the D200, the Digicam thing. And essentially, he pretty much said, what a pointless video. It looks like all your photos is shit. There was no point of you even taking those. They're crap. Essentially what he said. Yeah, and I'm reading it and I'm just like, do people think that they're in their mind, they're not being offensive when someone's made something and you pretty much be like, yeah, it's all shit and you suck. I'm like, what?
It's often the same perpetrators though, that you click on that guy's username and you find that
and I bet
he's probably left that same kind of comment on either previous videos of yours or on other people's channels. Yeah.
But then, because I was talking about that, and then people make dumb things. Why would anyone want to shoot film in this day and age? It's like,
that's a common one. Yeah. Well, it's just a lack of understanding. It's a lack of relatability or understanding, and that's fine.
One interesting comment for and I always found it interesting for your point of view on it. One guy said to me, we always talk, it's like the quality or whatever, it's good enough for social media. This guy said, I'm so tired of hearing it's good enough for social media, because it says so little about what good enough is, in a sense. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad point. But
well, you can look at that in different ways. Like sometimes because I worked in a place that did a lot of printing, in my mind, that makes me think of that's a high enough resolution for social media, on a technical level, but good enough.
Dude, 10 megapixels is more than enough for social media.
Yeah. But then I don't know what that person's talking about. Is it more of a artistically good or something? It's very subjective.
I get people, and I'm sure you do, but I get people saying the meanest things.
Well, you're really contrarian, man. That's the thing. The more contrarian and dogmatic and opinionated you are about something,
you're the voice of reason. I get people saying but this goes back years. Even when I was just doing normal camera reviews or a lens review or something non-controversial or vanilla in the film world, people still got to bust you down, which is another thing I suppose we talk about. It's if I, with motivation and this, if I had have paid attention to those comments, I would have quit this channel a long time ago. Wouldn't have been bothered. Long time ago.
the amount of
You know what I mean?
like terrible shit that I remember in the early days that really got
Yeah.
to me, and I've just learned to kind of,
Yeah,
even
you
if it
learn.
gets
You
to
got to
me
learn.
initially, I
Yeah,
need to move on as soon as possible. Most of
yeah.
the time, I try not to reply if it's just
No,
outright bullshit or mean.
yeah. No, I
Sometimes,
just
even if I do, I'm like, I just need to put this person in their place quickly. But then I'll try and still move on beyond that,
yeah.
and then I usually regret even replying if I did that.
Oh, people. Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
one thing is a thick skin will get you far in life. To be honest,
yeah,
that's for sure.
can't
But
please everyone.
no. But back to your. We've just again tangent. Your M6
Well,
video.
this is a tangent section, so it's fine.
Yeah, mate, it's a tangent. It was a great take on it.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
Cooper
there
is
was.
a flower. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, it was great. Like it was actually really nice to watch your style of video where it wasn't a puff piece. It wasn't like my video just talking shit on it, but it was a fair, all right, you know, it's a good camera. I think it has some flaws. If money wasn't an option, would I buy it? I'd probably get an MP or I'd stick with the MA because of the way I like to work. I don't need a light meter. That's, and
Yeah.
that's my opinion. It was a really nice take. I watched it and I was like, yeah, that was good. That
Yeah.
was just like the perfect way to talk about something controversial like that. Well,
Well,
the camera that divided everyone.
it's because it's so popular that I wanted to make sure I wasn't misleading people
Mm.
into thinking this is the be all and end all, because there's so much popularity around it, like a lot of promotion with the new one re-releasing, and a lot of other photographers and YouTubers. I bought an M6, I got an M6, I finally got an like, and then really
Yeah.
putting it up on a pedestal.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, for years, like, a lot of people's goal was with film, like, eventually I'm going to buy an M6
Yeah,
and my
but
work's
why?
going to
Sometimes you
change
need to
once
ask
I have it.
yourself why.
And you know what? It was funny on one of the video I made when I was talking about I had to sell everything. I sold the M6 TTL I had, which, oh my God. Oh,
The
that thing was,
titanium.
oh, no. It was TTL M6. So
Yeah.
just everything perfect, mechanical, but upgraded light. It was just perfect. But here's what it is. Had to get rid of it because it was so expensive. And family comes first. Some dude made a comment, and it was like one of the best hitting comments ever. And he said, "Me and my friends," and he said, "Most professionals will tell you, and me and my friends we've all discovered it ourselves, and you do as you spend more time in it. The more and more time you spend in photography and making art and working in photography, the less you realize that gear just doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. It means nothing." You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's exactly what I felt when I was using this camera, because of
Yeah.
course it is almost
Yeah.
the same as mine, but I just realized that I wasn't even able to pay much attention to how the advance might have felt different, which it did, or how the
Yeah.
shutter sounded different, which it did, and the fact that the light meter was there, or the frame lines, or whatever,
Or
because I'm
the
so absorbed in my
you know,
methodology and in the photos I'm
yeah.
trying to create that I'm like, well, I have to make sure I write notes and think back
Mm,
and get technical. But when I'm out there
yeah.
shooting, the street, which is what I'm really passionate about when I'm traveling and out there in an environment with lots of people, it's all about the end product. I don't care whether or not I'm using a Leica lens or a Zeiss lens or all that shit. I
No,
hate when people
no.
say, what's the point of buying a Leica when you're going to put a third party? What the fuck is
You know
wrong?
one
Look
of
at the
my
photo.
favorite lenses for the
If
Leica M system is the Konica Hexanon 50
yeah,
f2 that they made. That lens is one of my favorites. It's not a
yeah,
Leica lens. It's meant to literally be a Summicron copy.
yeah.
It's cheap, it's affordable, and it's just as good as a Leica Summicron. I love that thing. You
There's
know, me and you
elitists
both.
who don't agree.
That's
They think,
nice.
yeah,
The 35 2.8. How
love
many
it.
photos have you taken on that lens?
It's so good. It's sharp.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I
And
wish
then
I'd never got rid of mine, but like when I got it, it was, it was cheap. It was brand new and it was $700. I don't know why it was so cheap. But anyway, yeah, I hate that comment. Oh, well, you got to put, you go, well, no. Some people just
if that
buy the
person
M
was to,
bodies, the rangefinder.
yeah, and you
That's
put them
it.
into a blind test, like, sure,
Nobody
maybe there
knows.
are people who are so knowledgeable about Leica lenses and the way they look, they'll be able to pick it in a blind test. But if you then
Yeah.
go, it's the same great photo, and then you picked out the one with the Leica rendering as a
Mm,
better photo because of that slight difference in rendering, then I don't really appreciate that opinion anyway, because you're taking away from everything else in the photo.
yeah, that's good. It
The
means
way
nothing.
the
It means,
corner sharpness or
like,
the
dude,
bokeh
I'm
shape or whatever.
rocking. So on the FM3, I'm rocking right now the cheapest, shittiest lens ever, the Pancake 50mm 1.8 E series plastic lens.
Yeah, yeah.
you know, it's a cheap hunk of shit, but it does the
Yeah.
job.
Can't get caught
Perfectly
up in
fine.
that stuff. It's
No, I don't even care anymore. I've
yeah.
like, you know, I just like gear doesn't bug me. Only with the caveat to get the work done. For instance, because it's here, I'm show it off because I love the F6.
Yeah.
I only bought that because the F100 wasn't cutting the mustard with what I was doing.
Yeah.
Just that was it. It was I was getting out of focus, blurry photos, light media. You know, I mean, that's the only reason I only got it, because as a tool, this tool was better suited for me capturing that type of surf stuff that I like to capture.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, it's a means to an end, and you have to
Yeah,
realize there is an
it
end
was
in sight.
it was never. But yeah, I just we got to talk about this because it's
Where are
interesting.
you on the comments? I've fallen back. So we had
I
Dave
am.
sending something about you coming out of your shell, which I was like, does Cooper even have a shell? I don't think you have a shell.
Who doesn't know?
No.
Shell? What are you talking about? I was,
What about
you know,
Trent Parks' book? Yeah,
I
I
was
have a
reading that
pre-order on
before,
that.
and I was like,
Yeah.
we all know what Hashem thinks about Trent Park.
I haven't heard any updates because I pre-ordered way back when Monument was announced on the Stanley Barker site, and I have noticed that they jacked up the price because it was a pre-order price. So I'm glad I pre-ordered it.
Oh, that's
But
good then.
there's no word of shipping date yet. But
No.
Kyle McDougall's book is meant to ship soon. I do have a pre-order on that as well. That should be fun.
Oh, see, I didn't. I went to do the pre-order, but I think like
Hey, Alex.
that week I didn't click buy. I think I thought I did, but I didn't click buy or whatever. Anyway,
I've done that.
Yeah, that'd be some good stuff. But yeah, with Joey's comment about film there. I
Yeah.
like that. Film there, yeah. It isn't a battle of who has the best digital camera and lens. Like, yeah, it's all the
Focus
same.
on your end result, on
The whole
your
world
product,
is
yeah.
Kodak Portra.
Mm.
Pretty much.
Canon 20D. Coops is a shy, inhibited flower.
Yes, he is. He is a shy flower.
Balladino. Great live streams. Thanks, man. You have a good weekend ahead. Thank you. Thanks for joining anyone who's tuned in and is dropping out. I don't blame you because we're just at the tail end of this.
Now
and,
we're just but
just waiting for batteries to run out probably.
Sorry, I was going Riemann.
Peter McKinnon's video. Yeah, that was cool.
The Peter McKinnon.
Yeah.
I watched half of it and I turned it on. I almost didn't even watch it. I was like, here we go. But like watching it, I was like, cool. That's good. And again, to be honest, that guy has such a huge, like, how many millions of subscribers does he have?
4, 5. It's crazy.
It's stupid. And that's what everyone and like I think
it's a matter of time that he was going to talk about film.
Someone said something about, but just the eyes that he has, and you know what I mean. He's
one role.
He's a very influential content creator, whatever you want to call it. If you know what I mean, if he got 10,000 of his 4 million subscribers to start shooting film, we don't have to, you know what I mean? Like if we just got 10,000, Peter McKinnon's shooting film again. Okay, well, I'm going to buy a camera and shoot film. It's nothing but good news for us, as you know. It just means, you know, it means maybe Fuji will pull their finger out of their butt and start making some more film again.
I hope so, because when I saw that, I was actually like, awesome. I had a feeling because I think he showed an M6 in one of his last videos, and I was like,
it was the M6, yeah.
And then the fact that people in his comments were like, you know, film reminds me of back in the day when I used to do this, and they probably weren't even aware that it's such a thing, and they're going to maybe be reminded of their old cameras or get back into film, and that's amazing to see people like him. And his friend Matty Hapoya as well did it.
I think, you know, Kodak, with whatever they've done now with selling Alaris being sold, the distributors, I think that's probably a good thing because maybe someone will take, whoever buys the distribution side, maybe they'll, you know what I mean? It'll clear up and we can actually have constant stream and stock, which would be nice. That's the best outcome from that situation anyway. But I
hope so, yeah. I saw Nico's chat about that.
But again, if more people are shooting film, it just means, you know what I mean? It means more labs. It means more availability. You know, the Pentax thing. Me and you didn't talk about Pentax. We haven't had a chance to talk about Pentax.
Yeah, we're at an interesting tipping point.
I was at the point where I was like, if Pentax come out with a film camera, I will dump all my Nikon shit if they come out with pro ones and jump on board and buy that as well as that K3 Mark III monochrome, which looks
I was going to mention that when we spoke about the M11.
Awesome.
I think there's a video by Samuel, but I haven't watched it. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wish
I'll
it
have it.
was like not an SLR,
Yeah,
for
that's true.
example, because
If it wasn't an
if I was going
SLR,
to
yeah,
use it, I'd want to use it on the street and then
yeah, yeah, that's true. But again,
be
just the
able to
fact
adapt
that
lenses.
they made a monochrome camera simply because a poll of their customers said that's what they wanted to see.
Really cool. I love what Pentax
And
is doing.
now,
Yeah.
we're gonna. And I watched the most recent Japanese
Yep.
update
Part
video,
two. Yeah. Yeah.
and he did say, "Do you see where he said the one of the biggest things people have been asking them is for a new Pentax 672 version
Oh,
two
yeah.
or version 3?"
I didn't watch all of it.
And they're not putting that out. They're just saying the first thing we want to do is get a good compact. They're going to have a compact. All I can think of is going to be a camera similar to like the Canon G7 series or whatever. Those are, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
going to be a fixed lens with a manual advance and
Yeah, like
rewind. Cool.
hymatics and little
And
trips
yeah,
and
then
yeah.
they said, then we're going to do the professional SLR, and then they didn't say, oh no, we won't make a medium format camera. So there is like so much hope.
For sure. Even the compact, man. Like I would consider that because it's going to have a modern lens
Right.
and like
If
modern
they've made,
mechanics, brand
if they
new.
made a
Yeah.
new point and shoot, I mean,
Imagine that.
I think an automatic point and shoot would be, to be honest, the best thing for the market instead of what they're making. Just
You think so?
because,
People
yeah,
like the
I do.
tactility. It keeps the price lower, lower
Yeah,
barrier
but
to
we like
entrance.
the tactility, but
Oh, I think
you
a
know what
lot
I
of
mean?
people do.
You reckon?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
just
I do, but
advancing. Advancing is
I
fun.
would
Yeah,
have
like
thought just how popular point and shoots are with every facet of the youth. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Everyone's rocking either a disposable at parties or now a big thing. I'm sure because
digicams.
you
Yeah.
still shoot heaps of weddings. Disposables on the table at weddings are
Yep.
coming back in a big way.
Yep. Last wedding we shot on the weekend,
Yep,
they had a bunch of the little
yep,
blue Polaroid
that's
ones.
come
Yeah.
back in a huge way. And all the younger crew just want that super lo-fi, look. And again, I suppose an advanced crank, very similar to that shitty winder on point and shoots. But yeah, that would be
Nothing
good.
wrong
I
with that
mean,
either, man. Even the
no,
Fuji
yeah.
6.7 or whatever it's called has a little wheel, right? And it works. If it works, it works.
Oh, dude, that's such an amazing camera. That
Yeah.
camera.
It's not the
Had
most
that for a
important
while.
thing when you're shooting slowly anyway.
Yeah.
And Alex, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right about the scanning quality mattering. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Like even now, my next video, you can see all the shit behind me.
Oh no, man. The
I'm
my
working on a
scanners that I
scanning.
use,
Yeah, it makes such a
um,
difference.
yeah, even with a crappy lens, like you got a wicked scanner and you resolve mad detail.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter so much about the lens quality.
And there's no
Um,
question anymore that what I can get out of a camera scanning setup, it can beat a lab scanner. Even when I've done the lab scanning myself at
yeah,
OpenLab on an
yeah,
SP3000, I'll rescan a frame using
mm,
my DSLR,
yeah.
and there's more detail, there's better shadow, like soft everything, the
Oh
color,
man,
and it just
I
keeps getting better and better.
silver halide. The guy's got a Noritsu, like essentially like an S2. And I went in the other day with my negs and they let me scan
Oh yeah,
those.
was it fun?
And well, that's my favorite scanner, the Noritsu for medium format. The colors off it, I'm always been a fan of that. But
The 1800, it's like
yeah,
the spaceship looking. Yeah,
the detail of that and the tonality is like, I don't know.
that one's great. Yeah,
I don't like DSLR scanning because it's simply the old CCD versus CMOS debate. That's what I've always said. I prefer the look of those scanners because they have that CCD sensor and that's the
yeah,
way it renders the grain and the colors compared to what a CMOS sensor does. And that's just, you know what I mean? And not that one is better than the other. That's
no,
just,
no.
you know what I mean? I sit on that side of the fence about that.
Well,
But
there is a certain
Christian,
charm that you get out of
yeah,
those older
Christian's comment
machines.
here. My favorite M mount lens, the 40mm Rocore. Ooh,
Yeah,
yes. That is, I remember when I bought an M10 all those years ago. I bought a second-hand one super cheap. The only lens I had on that M10 for a while was that 40mm.
I've
Didn't
heard
even
only
have the
good things.
corresponding frame lines. It was just awesome.
Yeah, Balladino, I know what you mean about the half press. I did notice that on the M6. That was a little bit distracting for me because I actually sometimes missed shots because I wasn't used to having a half press first, and then like I would raise a camera to my eye and like what, and then I hadn't fully pressed the M6 shutter. But yeah, scanning quality. Dave, photo vloggers, we need more like you and Coop. Thanks, man. I love your support
I
constantly on the
appreciate that
channel. Always
because
appreciate it. Yeah.
because it sucks with that, and you because you know him as, and I said it in the last video. Like, unfortunately, the videos that get the most views are camera reviews, anytime we
Yeah.
talk about gear stuff. But the problem is, what I think a lot of people don't realize for us is when we make some of these videos, like, costs a lot of money, whether it be developing, buying film, scanning, driving around, doing all these videos. It costs money. And sometimes you've just got to bite the bullet and make these vanilla camera review videos that get all the views, that get all the likes. Then you get you get your AdSense, you get your revenue generated, because sometimes it costs a lot of money to make some of the video I've just done, the one I'm waiting to get the scans back because I got another roll here of
Oh yeah.
Ectochrome. Man, it's $1. It's cost me to make that video for everyone's cost me $65.
Yeah,
What
especially
it costs
slide
to
film,
buy a
and
roll
the
of
time.
Ectochrome,
It costs
and
time
then
as
my
well.
time on top of that. But money wise, it cost me $65 to shoot a roll of Ectochrome and to get it developed.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
But
Like,
like it's
we don't
information that
do it
people want as well,
we
and
don't
I
do it for
kind
the
of am
money.
interested. If there's a new camera,
Yeah.
for example, like let's say we got our hands on a new Pentax when they
Dude,
release
if you
that,
got your
of
hands on the new
course we're going to want
Pentax,
to talk about it.
all right, if you got your hands
Yeah,
on it, because there's a higher chance of you getting your hands on it than
I'm going to
me,
try. I'm going to
I
try.
will book a flight to Melbourne and come over
Calm down,
for
man.
that, and
Yeah,
literally come over and be like, right, I'm hijacking this video. I'm I'm
yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm on board. You're getting
Bring,
two opinions, people.
bring your
I'm
rocket
coming.
blower.
Yeah, I'm coming with my stress reliever rocket blower. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, in
Uh,
scanning. Um,
yeah. We need to do that idea that we spoke about when next time I come to Perth, like doing a film photography surf documentary thing. I still have this vision of how cool
yeah,
that would be to shoot
yeah.
like something about taking photos in the surf. And
Oh man, it's just I don't have anyone. There's a couple guys I've actually slowly become friends with now through Instagram, just local dudes who shoot what I shoot and enjoy that sort of surf stuff. So now it would be a matter of like, yeah, potentially like trying to create the friendships to say like, hey guys, can someone come out and film me in the water taking photos? Because I don't think I've seen maybe 5 videos or 6 videos on YouTube from that perspective, from a
mhm.
water photographer. One of them was on John Hook, who's a Hawaiian guy who like swims out and shoots like, triple head height pipeline with a Nikonos.
Yeah,
Ballsy, very ballsy. Then there was that
the South African
uh
guy, the young dude, Sheepskin, William Sheepskin.
yeah, him, yeah.
Yeah, he's done
And
some cool
then
stuff.
there's a couple old ones from, I think the channel was called like Analog something. And there's a video on a guy called Brooke Sterling, and then
Yeah,
another girl who they were all like Nikonos shooters, but they actually like pro, like whoever was making the video swam out with them to actually watch. You know what I mean? To actually like to
yeah.
film them in the water doing their thing, which is cool, but
For sure. And
logistically very
there's a
hard.
lot of blogs, sorry, and photos. But what is so
Mm.
cool about video out in the surf is you get to feel it, like what it's like when you have a
Oh
wave
yeah,
coming in, you're
yeah,
diving
man,
under and seeing that motion of the bubbles and everything, and like
yeah.
the sunlight
Like,
shining through a
and
wave.
for,
And
for the uninitiated, it can be scary and dangerous,
it
especially
can, yeah,
when it's big surf, man. Like I've said, I've come out of the water before with a blood nose and a busted lip
yeah.
from
I'm
getting
afraid of big
smoked.
surf, man.
My
I don't
housing
go
and
out. Yeah,
the
yeah.
housing clocked me in the face. Just
Shit, yeah,
bam,
yeah. It is
bam,
dangerous.
busted busted lip, nose was bleeding everywhere,
Yeah,
just from literally trying to get in the danger zone. You know what I mean? Like you see everyone that got over the falls, and then you hit the shutter as you're mid fucking free falling.
right, right.
Um,
I've never done it myself,
no,
like photography wise, but
yeah,
I used to stick to sand breaks for that reason, like going out to just Trig Point on a day when the banks are
yeah,
good
yeah.
and there's like good swell and whatever, because at least it's safer than being on a big reef break with huge swell like down Yellingup or something. But
Um, yeah, man. Like the dudes who, but a lot of the times now, a lot of what you see is with that big stuff. Dudes are on the back of a jet ski.
yeah, exactly, and that
They're
takes a
on the
lot of
back of a jet
skill
ski,
and
shooting with
expense.
a
Yeah,
70 to 200 on the back of a jet ski.
yeah,
Uh, Dave, Jamie O'Brien has some great surf photography. Oh yeah, mate. Jamie O'Brien is a Hawaiian guy, Hash, but he's like started like this. I suppose you could call it the surfer vlog, but like people take the piss out of him because he's just like every second, oh, it's so psyched, we're gonna be psyched, and like people have made like the Raglan Surf Report. So any surfer has
yeah.
the Raglan Surf Report on Instagram. There's this Kiwi guy who just takes the mickey out of all the surfing stuff, and he's made a
Right,
few
right.
videos copying. Yeah, but like some of these dudes have got like professional cruise, but they're all sponsored by like Red Bull and stuff. So you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They've got
I
people
thought
who can just
it was when you said Hawaiian, I was picturing kind of like
no
is it
white
that
Hawaiian boy.
Californian, that really surfy. I'm surprised there isn't more out of that part of the California in the world of videos out in the surf or on the beach when it comes to film and all that. Like, because there's
Well,
a
yeah,
huge subculture there. And
because as I've always said, man, like when you're a hardcore surfer, it's literally a dilemma when you roll up at the beach. Okay, the waves are pumping. Am I going to go surf, which is just the adrenaline rush, the feeling is like it's just
you
magic,
don't want to miss out when it's good.
or am I going to go and take some awesome photos?
Yeah.
And to be honest, for me, 90% of the time, I'll go and surf first.
You
'Cause
don't want to miss out. Yeah.
I don't want to miss out. I've got to get some
'Cause it's
waves, and then I'll come out afterwards. Whereas I think, yeah, there's a lot of the dudes who, when you see it, I think like the few people that are doing it, it's like there's a group of really close friends that all surf, and then one of them might be taking photos and then decides to document everything of his mates, or vice versa. They switch out and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
or like the chance of annoying locals or something, and you have to be kind of be
again,
tight and
where
like,
I
get out of
surf,
my
like,
wave, bro.
I know everyone. Back to the valley, man. Yeah, like
you shooting Portra 400, bro. Get off my gun.
Point Break or something.
Yeah. You see like one of those like Dero surfers come up and like.
Oh yeah, but again for me, like taking photos at where I always surf, so people, it's like a familiar. Oh, okay, I know, I see that guy surfing all the time. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? It's not some random dude. But again, that might put off some people. Like they want to swim out and they're like, okay, I don't know any of these people. I'm just going to start taking photos of random guys surfing. And so many times I get dudes that paddle over to me and they're like, oh, and oh, did you get that? I'm like, yeah, man. They're like, oh, what do you do with the photo? And I'm like, not much. They're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, this is my hobby. Like, I just love taking photos. Like, sometimes I put them on Instagram, sometimes I don't. That's it. And they're all kind of like, a lot of the time people give me this look like, what? Like it's essentially like
wasting your time or whatever.
You're going through all this effort for nothing. And I'm just like, no, this is what I love to do. This is what I enjoy. But the other part of that is, I mean, it's hard to justify on camera, but you know me. But being as big as I am, nobody says anything.
True.
Nobody says anything. That's one perk. I mean, it might be hard to ever buy a pair of shoes, pretty much ever, because you can never get my size, or clothes are never in my size. But nobody ever rarely says anything like that. Which is, another perk when I go out and do street photography. People might give me the shitty look or the stink eye, but no one really says anything.
Yeah. They might just think you're an undercover cop or something.
Probably.
Dude, what is that? Did you see how gnarly that was, man? Was that Portra 400 and Nikon
F4? That viral surf video where that guy, the dark-haired guy, and he's like, he's got that short dark hair, and he's like, we just kind of drop in and you get so pitted. No, that's bad. He did that on purpose. That wasn't.
I thought so.
Like, yeah. There's a video came out like 10 years after that, and he's like, "Yeah, I put it all on purpose to just to be funny on camera. Like I don't actually talk like that in real life."
I love that though. I love that.
That's hilarious.
Have you seen Big Wednesday? I don't know. They didn't talk like that in Big Wednesday or anything like that. But that Point Break kind of like cliche.
Oh yeah. But Point Break's classic. That's a classic surf movie. In that book of mine, there's a quote from Point Break in the front cover.
You have it on your Instagram, right? The one about the.
I did, yeah.
Hey, Utah, get me two.
One of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Utah, get me two.
Yeah.
But there's a couple, because it's so corny, but just so synonymous with like as a surf movie, like an action surf movie. There's nothing like it. I didn't even watch the new one. They did a remake. I didn't bother with that.
Why bother?
No chance.
But, Alex is saying he has to catch and stop himself doing the hard California accent when he's back home. Are you back in Japan now, Alex, by the way? And yeah, you asked about slide film. I've done a video on slide before, maybe two, but then nothing about just the pros and cons. I've done like an E100 review and pushing E100 and whatever. But yeah, slide film's amazing. I'd love to shoot more. It's just expensive to buy, to process. Yeah.
And that's sort of where I'm going with this next video, is just sort of like, okay, well, like how good are these results? The more expensive it gets, is it still worth? And then, like the other part of it is soon the only slide film left is going to be Ektachrome. It's not going to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Fuji's 120 stocks already. Well, they've given that excuse about materials or backing paper, whatever. Remember seeing it last year or
Yeah,
something.
environments. I don't know. This is what I'm worried about, like, because
Yeah.
I think this particular year, 2023, and this might be a good way to like kind of tie things up because
Yep.
got to
We've been
head off
going for
soon.
ages. Yeah.
But it's sort of like a tipping point with the prices getting so high, availability getting so low. Whatever happens over the rest of this year, I think is going to determine the trajectory for like the years coming up for film photography,
Yep.
as to whether, for example, Fuji starts making or selling film again or
They
not.
they don't have to.
Yeah,
They just don't have to.
because younger people are getting more into
Yeah.
digicams.
They
Not
are.
not completely, but if it keeps going that way
No.
and they keep
Yeah.
dropping the option for film, and film cameras will go down in price, which is good. But then if there's no one selling enough film and
No.
labs start shutting down,
Mate, no. Everything. I reckon we're on the downtrend now. I reckon film cameras are coming down in price.
yeah, because it peaked so
Especially in
high.
Australia, with
Yeah.
our current cost of living, cameras are sitting for sale longer,
I've
and
seen
then
that.
people are dropping the prices on them slowly and slowly because they just can't sell them, because it's just people don't have the general populace doesn't have that disposable income. But I reckon we're going to start to see towards, as this year continues on towards the end of the year, some of the cameras will start to get a little bit cheaper, just because people people just don't quite have the budget anymore to pay $5,500 or $7,500 for an X-Pan with a lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think Darren, who let me borrow the M6, who was on the live stream, I don't know if he's still here, but he was telling me, he was trying to sell a few cameras and it's just really hard now. But that particular aspect, I think, because film camera secondhand prices got so high, that bubble was bound to burst, and that won't really necessarily affect, because it was just crazy. It has to regress back to the mean.
And I hope it does, because it just lowers the barrier of entry again for people. You know
So
what
it needs
I
to
mean?
stabilize. Let's say it started down here and it got up to there. It needs to kind of stabilize again.
Well, definitely.
But then I hope that Kodak can get stock back out there and Fuji doesn't, hopefully cut everything, even though it looks that way.
I'm going to say before about Fuji's, I read something. Fuji Films portfolio is so diversified in cosmetics and medicine and everything else
Instax,
that only reason they don't need to make film at all. Like, there's no part of their business model that needs to make film. Apparently they're only doing it because, from, I don't know, the nostalgic reason or whatever, you know what I mean? So
which we're appreciative of. Keep doing it.
Keep doing it. But again, when they look at things like how popular the X100V is, they go, "Whoa, do we even need to make anything but Instax?"
Yep.
That's it. You know what I mean? Do we need to make anything except Instax film and Instax cameras?
But that's what gives me hope, because if they have a factory for Instax, wouldn't that be the same factories as the? Because it's still creating film emulsions and a negative, essentially.
Yeah.
Isn't that an excuse to keep making Superior and other things that?
I don't know. Yeah, but then again, why have they done a deal with Kodak? Why?
Maybe it is a temporary thing. I know it's optimistic.
And I don't care, because to be honest, I personally prefer
gold
and Ultramax over the Superior line. Losing the original Formula C200 sucks, because that's beautiful film. But whatever deal they did with Kodak, because no one else is making film in America except Kodak. No one else. So all that box Fuji stuff is Kodak, Gold, and Ultramax.
I appreciate having the choice, and I'm sure a lot of people do, and I think that would be nice. Even if, let's say, I slightly prefer C200 to Gold 200, it's not by much, and it'd still be nice to have the option sometimes to choose one over the other.
Having the option would be good, not just knowing that, going into a store and going, that's made by Kodak, that's made by Kodak.
Sorry, guys, that's all we have.
Everything's made by Kodak.
And it's $20 a roll, and you're screwed, and there's no more 5-packs, there's no more 3-packs sooner or later.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's why I've just, a couple bulk rolls of Ilford. You can always count on Ilford. Always count on Ilford. Yeah. I'm glad. And then, like, I keep reminding myself about the advantages of self-scanning, and it might come to a point where even with color stuff, I might do dev only at the lab if I don't have chemistry at home, because that's
you
what
can scan it yourself.
Dev only color at the labs as well. that, like I said, that Prime film, that scanner I got all those years ago, man, it's paid for itself. Like it was, as I said, $850 with the express shipping. It
That's
paid
awesome.
for itself, and now it's paid for itself an extra 2 times, like $1,500. I worked it out. It saved me $1,500 worth of scanning. Just the
Shit.
difference between a develop and scan at whatever lab you go to. That one scanner has saved me $1,500 over the last couple of years. You know what I mean? Which is just more money to buy film.
Yeah, especially when it's automated because there's not as much of a time bottleneck
No, it's
as
not as much. I've got the new ones
you
sitting
leave
here,
it. Yeah.
brand new ones. I haven't used them yet. Haven't made a review.
The
Pacific
new
Image
what?
sent me
Oh,
the new version of
Oh, you
mine
serious?
and the new version of the Power Film, the one that you can feed up to
Yeah,
40 strips of 5.
I didn't even know
And
about that.
The new one scans wide lux. It does the Horizon, wide lux, and X-Pan.
So
format.
we're expecting a video to come out soon then?
Yeah, I've been sitting on them since Christmas, man. The problem is, and I said this to the Pacific Image guys, Stephen, he's a lovely guy. I said, man, your scanning software is total garbage. It's crap. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You're not a software company. You're a scanner company. You make wicked scanners. Silverfast were meant to have released options for them in the first quarter of 2023. And we're past that, and Silverfast still haven't done it. And I'll have to buy the $90 Silverfast license myself for each machine, which is cool. Happy to do that when I get 2 new scanners for free. But
you can't use NLP?
No, because I can't get the scanners to run. ViewScan crashes with these scanners, and their scanning software is just shit. Like it's just shit.
Shame. Yeah,
results suck. Like, and I said to the guy, I said, listen, the one I've got, the original, the Prime film or whatever, I said, I can't make a video when using the older one and Silverfast gets me better results than using the newer one with your software. Like I just can't consciously do it to people. I'm not going to tell them to go and buy a new product when the older one works better. Like I had the same thing happen with 7 Artisans. They wanted to send me a lens. I said, okay, you send me a macro lens. Sent me over, and I had the DSLR set up. So I had the essential film holder. You the one that you gave me, light pad and everything. I was like, I can do a DSLR video comparing it again. Everyone likes scanning videos. They sent me the old macro lens, their super old one that you'd twist and it was telescopic and it came all the way out.
Like
I said, why'd you send me the old one? Oh, I said, well, can I send it back? And he sent me the new one. Oh, we don't have any stock. I was like, well, can I please send the lens back? I said, the new one's the new lens, the new formula, and it's better, isn't it? Yes. I said, so you can't expect me to make a video for my viewers telling them to buy a lens when there's a better alternative, you know what I mean? When you
from
guys
your brand,
from your brand. Like, I'm not going to do that to people. That's just a dick move.
Yeah.
And then I said, and they wouldn't take it back. I'm like, can I just send it back? I'm not going to use it.
Well, did they just tell you keep it and don't worry about the video, or what?
Yeah, they did. They just did. No, well, I felt guilty.
Well, no, I mean, if it's an old sample product that's outdated, again, it's probably not worth the trouble.
Model. And I was just like, I can't. Dave, Silverfast 9 does rock my world. It is. It's great. But like I just was like, that's not the type of person I am. I can't make a video on a product. And I know you've had, how many companies have approached you over the years?
Plenty. And sometimes communication isn't great. Yeah. I mean, I think I've done something for 7 Artisans, which was a 35mm M, and that it's good. It sometimes depends who you get, and then the back and forth can break up sometimes.
You get hit with people saying, and I get where I'm at with subscriber wise. I get hit with the Chinese companies doing camera accessories and shit, and I'm just like, no thanks, I'm not interested.
All the time.
It's nothing that I would buy myself. I wouldn't even use it. So. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make a video on it because my viewers, they don't care about that stuff. So I'm not going to push crap on them. I'm not that type of jerk. But yeah, man, we've carried on for a long time now, haven't we? Shit.
No, I think this was good. This is what I like about these. So I don't have to
prepare
a whole bunch of slides
anyway.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I might come to Perth mid-year. I don't know, because we're going to New Zealand. Some of the family is flying over from Perth to meet in New Zealand, to go to Queenstown, bit of snowboarding and stuff.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And that means I won't go to Perth anymore at that time, because then I might as well delay that, because I get to see the family.
No point. There's no point.
But hopefully soon. Yeah, Sarah and I want to do a visit, and then
I've been meaning to come back to Melbourne, man. It's my turn to come over and see you anyway. It's just having an excuse to get the family to come or M to come. Like, you know what I mean? She's got a couple friends. One of her oldest friends is over there still from. They grew up together in the UK, but I love Melbourne. Whereas M, she prefers Sydney. I'm like, no.
Sydney's cool. I
No.
prefer Melbourne too, but yeah, like everyone has
I
reasons.
prefer Melbourne
Yeah.
to Sydney. As a Perth boy, like give me Melbourne, 100%. I don't know what it is about Melbourne, but I just kind of like what's going on in Melbourne.
The vibe's
Maybe
a bit different.
I think it's almost like it's a bit older and it's almost got that slight New Yorkie vibe to certain areas. You know what I mean? On like in my mind, like a much smaller scale. It just kind of like feels super exciting. So I got to try and get over there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So what's next for you on the channel? Another rant?
Slide film video. Another rant. Man, I've been waiting. I got to go. I borrowed a GoPro. I'm just waiting for a good session of surf, and I'm just trying to strap a GoPro to the top of my Aquatech housing and take the F6 out in the water. And actually make a video with the F6, using it for what it was intended for. Fucking action photography.
I bought one of these DJI. What is
it? That looks
Osmo
cool.
Action, because they started. This has got outdated by the version 3, so they were clearing these at JB Hi-Fi for like 150, something cheap, man. Like really, I don't know if it's still that cheap anymore. But that's what I've been using for my POV videos now. So if I come to Perth, I would bring this.
Yeah.
So if we ever shoot something like that,
which one's that? The Osmo.
It's the DJI Action 2. So it like splits and it's got a little magnetic, thingy.
Oh yeah.
The battery pack.
Like, can you mount it? Does it have that magnet won't be strong enough in the water? Does it have like an external housing thing that goes on it or something?
Well, no, but what you can do is attach GoPro style things to it. Yeah, I forgot. I mean, I barely use that. I use a magnetic thing just to put it on my chest when I'm doing street POVs. But
that's an awesome. And I almost bought one of those Insta360 cameras with the magnet necklace for just that reason, to put it there,
the biggest selling point.
Take photos. But I looked at. I think the sensor was just way too small.
Yeah, if you're doing daytime stuff though.
The quality was pretty crap, and I was like, I'd be better off getting something else. But ATF, cheers from California, mates. Come over for a surf. Dude, I wish I could come over back to Cali and go surf. Christ.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Man, just there's some seriously good spots in California. But California's the surf, it's like the same as WA, but like, you know what I mean? There's like just a lot of surfers all up and down the coast, whereas we've got, from all the way north to all the way down south. It's just that huge stretch. So they get the same thing and they get proper waves.
Yeah. Camera bat either went into standby. You can still hear me, but I gotta wake up the camera.
Should we take should we take that as a sign?
For sure. I think it is a sign. Video should come back in a second, but I was about to say let's wrap this up anyway.
Take that as a sign.
This is great, man. Thanks for having a chat. I hope everyone watching live got something out of it. I know that it was a bit long.
If everyone stuck around, whoever has stuck around this whole time.
Dave Nelson, champion.
Dave, Dave's been here the whole time. Thanks, man.
Appreciate the support.
Let's carry on.
Yeah, and if anyone watched this post-stream, I'll leave it up on the channel. If you've skipped through and maybe found something interesting, I hope you guys appreciate it. Let us know what you want to see in the next chat. Coop and I want to try and do regular chats. And
regular chats like this, just to assess whatever. And
we'll try and have a structured one next time, like a more structured one that we do maybe not live. If we come up with some kind of like Q&A thing, and then I can post that afterwards.
I think we definitely, you know what I mean? Like if we get, for instance, when Pentax finally drops a camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I love what you're doing with that like podcasty kind of series, and I've been trying to do more of that.
It's just super enjoyable. I mean, I don't know, just with my scheduling like a live one with everyone's.
That's why I think maybe we can try and mix up lives with not lives, because live has its challenges. Like today, trying to get it working and audio, and then keeping up with the live chat is difficult as well sometimes. And we'll do that. We'll have a topic. We'll put it out there, and it can just be an audio that you can listen to. Thanks, guys. Sure. Thanks anyone who's on there and watched and left a comment. Guys. Sorry if we didn't reach your question. If you left a question, Hash Cook chats. Oh yeah, that was great. Thank you. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, man. Let's have a chat. Actually, I did read what you said earlier about coming back from Tokyo and the US and all that, but we should have a chat soon as well. Dave, Roberto, thank you. Awesome.
Alex.
All right, guys.
Do I know Alex?
Yeah. Alex is Alex on Streets on YouTube.
Oh, I do know Alex.
Yeah, yeah. It's great
When
stuff.
you're talking about Alex in Tokyo, I'm going, hang on.
Yeah,
Alex,
yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Munoz. All right.
I wish. One question before I go, because someone brought
Yeah.
up. You know, Viva La Film, Jess.
Yeah.
That's the same Jess who's doing the camera repairs, isn't it, Jess?
Yep.
Yeah, good to clarify
Yeah, because
that.
the name and the username sometimes
I
gets
was
mixed
like,
up.
no, because someone asked me the other day. I said, I'm pretty sure I would be sending stuff to her
Cool.
in the future. Because, as I said in that last video, to hell with all these old fucking gatekeeper film camera repairmen.
Okay. On that note,
All right.
thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks,
Talk
everyone.
to you soon.
All right.
That